Hello, boys and girls. I'm sure some of you are very glad to get back to school this week, back in with your teacher and your class friends. And some of you will be looking forward very much to going back to school soon. You know, Jesus was a teacher as well. And Jesus taught the disciples and he taught the people. They were very eager to hear what he had to teach them. There was one day that Jesus went up into the mountain, the people followed him, they all sat down and he began to teach. And he told them so many wise words, so many wonderful things. And at the end, after he'd finished speaking, this is what he said. He said, "Everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock." And it's found in the Bible in Matthew chapter 7, verse 24. So let's say that together twice. Okay, together. Everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. Matthew chapter 7, verse 24. And another time, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. Okay, boys and girls, what I wonder were these wise words, these words of mine that Jesus said. I wonder what they were. Some of the things that Jesus was saying were things like, don't worry, because God knows what we need and he will take care of us. He also said that we should give to the needy, share what we have. He said we should love people who are unkind to us and pray for them. He said don't do good things just because people can see what you're doing. He said God is everywhere. We can't see him, but he's everywhere and he knows everything that we do. So we should be doing good things and kind things no matter where we are. And he also said what we now sometimes call the golden rule, which is do to others as you would have them do to you. That means if you would like people to be kind to you, you should be kind to them. If you want people to be truthful to you, you should be truthful to them. So these were some of the things that Jesus was saying. Let's look at our verse again. Everyone who hears these words, okay, the words that Jesus was saying and more, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. So Jesus is really saying here, there's no point just in hearing these wise words. We need to put them into practice as well. If we don't put them into practice, like the stories tells us today, it's a bit like building a house on sand. As soon as the rain comes, then the house, we're going to forget what we've heard and the house is going to fall. But Jesus wants us to be like the wise man. So what does it mean? What does the wise man do? Okay, let's look. Everyone who hears, that means we must listen. We must listen to what God wants us to do. That means reading our Bible. It means praying to God. It means going to church or going to Sunday school, going to jam when we can. Okay, and it also means the wise man puts them into practice. That means that we must obey what God tells us to do. So we must listen and obey, and that will make us into a wise man or a wise boy or a wise girl. Okay, then what? If we hear and obey, put them into practice, what then? Then we'll be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. What is a rock like, boys and girls? Isn't it firm and strong and secure? Jesus is like a rock. And when we have Jesus in our lives, it's like standing on a rock. We're not going to fall down when Jesus is holding us up. When life is difficult, when we're worried or we don't know what to do, if we remember and do what God tells us to do, it will be like a house that's built on the rock. It will not fall. God will give us strength and comfort, and He will help us to make wise choices. So let's say it again, boys and girls. Everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. So let us always remember, boys and girls, to read our Bibles and to pray to God and to ask Him to give us wisdom to be a wise boy and a wise girl and to live in a right way that pleases Him.